All right, hey everybody, and welcome to Chiu Stream, where we talk about art and life as an artist. I'm your host, Bobby Chiu, and I have the wonderful Masae Seki on the stream as well. Say hi, Masae.
Hey everyone, it's been a while.
It has been a while, and of course, I want you to say a big shout out to my buddy Jonathan Hardesty. Hey, John.
What's up, internet? How you doing? Good to be here, Bobby.
Yeah, always, always. If you're catching this on YouTube and it's not live anymore, it's pre-recorded, and you want to catch a live stream, not to worry. All you need to do is press subscribe to this channel and then press the notification button to get all the instant notifications the next time we do a stream. Now, before we get started, I just want to mention a couple little things. Some people were asking, when are we going to be able to see you in whatever place? So I just want to run down some events that I'm going to be attending this next month. So starting off my hometown, Toronto, but this is going to be special because we're going to have the Masters. Hyungjin Kim, Kim Jung-gi, and Crash McQuarrie. Wow.
Nice.
That's going to be awesome. March 10th to 11th. And then we have Florence. I'm going to fly out to Florence like a couple weeks after or something. And it's going to be Andrea Blasic, Christophe Lautrette, David Levy, Loish, Kevin O'Brien. Holy smokes. But the fun doesn't end there. I'm going to go straight to Shanghai after that, where I'm going to be doing a workshop finally. If you want to see one of my workshops, all you need to do is go to Shanghai. And Kim Jung-gi will be there. The amazing Stanley Artgerm Lau will be there. And the incredible Nate Stanton from Pixar will be there as well. And there you go. But sorry, one more stop before I head home. The amazing race heading to Querétaro. I hope I pronounced that right. Querétaro, Mexico. What? Oh my goodness. I totally didn't know that. All my buddies are going to be there. Steven Silver, Carlo Ortiz, Justin Goby Fields. We're all going to Querétaro, Mexico. And that's going to be April 27th to the 29th. Do not miss that one because I can't wait. I can't wait to go to all these. And that's it.
Awesome.
Wow. Back to
You're going to be
back
busy,
to
dude.
back.
You're going to be busy.
I told you, I was like, last year I kind of stayed put in Toronto a lot more than usual. And I didn't like it. I want to go travel. So, this year I was just like, put me on every stinking thing you could put me on. So I'm going.
And now you're like, oh, crap,
Oh, it's been amazing.
But
Are
it's
you
like
kidding?
two birds, one stone. You get to learn and you get to travel.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
true. That's true.
Filling in, that's what it's all about. If
awesome.
You're always doing that, holy smokes, you level up like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I want to start off the stream by just taking any questions from the audience. So we have a few already. Let's go to the first question. Henry asks, and this one is for you, John. Not sure if you can share it yet, but how long until the texture course gets released?
Well, we don't. I keep telling them it's coming. But the thing is, we have to decide a lot of. This is a little bit different than what's normally been done. So, right, Bobby, we could say that, right? It's different. So, delivery method and all those kinds of things need to be worked out. Also, I'm trying to hone the exact, because we want to do a bunch of these. I'm trying to hone the exact style and delivery method. That means that the length of it, the way all the information is delivered, and doing it in a really efficient way and all of that. So I've got a lot of the content. So now I'm going back and I'm just going to be re-editing and changing some things and doing all of that. And so it's there, it's there, like the meat. It's kind of like if it's Thanksgiving and you're smelling the meal and the turkey's cooked, and you go and you try to steal some turkey from your mom and she's like, stop stealing it. It's going to be out soon. That's kind of where we're at right now. So it's there. It's coming and I can't say for sure. I don't want to say for sure because that's like a surefire way to curse yourself and make it take a month longer. So,
Well, you've been definitely putting in the effort, and so that's something that everybody's going to be very glad to hear. And of course, schoolism classes, they probably do take the longest out of all the digital painting, digital or art educational kind of classes out there, just because that's always been our thing, to really, really take pride in the different classes. So stay tuned. Don't hold your breath, but definitely be on the newsletter, the Schoolism newsletter.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, I mean, one of the reasons it takes a little bit longer too is because, on Schoolism, they're working with professionals, who have, stuff going on at the same. I mean, if I could do this 24 hours a day, I could probably bang it out pretty quick, So we're doing it on top of other things, so it does make it. We man up, we do it, but but it does make it take a little bit longer. Because we want to do a good job, and you can either have, if I won't say, it's going to take a little while. It's fine,
Well, and also, John, I don't know if you know, but I'm actually remaking my class. I'm making a digital painting class too, and
nice.
It's like I don't really talk about it because I know how long. Oh, I just did. Okay, so why don't we just move on to the next question here?
You opened it up. You oh no.
This one's a good one. Dr. Bonehead. Dr. Bonehead says, how the hell do you get out of art block? Having many things to improve sometimes, it feels that the impatience to get there is such a major stumbling block.
I think this is what I tell all my students. You have to fall in love with the process. You can't be focused on the end result, right? So now, art block, like if you're having trouble with ideas or whatever, that's different than necessarily being kind of focused on the end result and being frustrated that you're not getting there. But to me, it's at first I would be learning all this stuff, and I think I lost a lot of the joy of learning when I was first beginning, because I was just always obsessing about how crappy I was, or how I wasn't doing something the way that I should, and then I started, I'm at the point now where I love just learning more stuff. I love making art and figuring out how to do it better and learning from other people. And so, you fall in love with that process. And when you fall in love with the process, you never can really be disappointed. And, for me as a fine artist, I have to make a painting, then sell it, right? So I have a commission or a painting that I do, and I have to send it to the gallery or whatever and sell it. So I have to fall in love with the process. I can't keep that thing around, and just look at it forever. It doesn't really, I would lose a lot of money if I did that. So,
like Masae, you've been, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I want to hear about this, actually. So I want you to go ahead, because I was wondering if we could talk about that. I think.
Oh,
I know,
sorry, I thought you were done, but Masae, you've been working on your art book, right? And I'm sure you've gone through many. I'm sure you probably have some thoughts on this as well. Gone through some experiences of art block and things like that.
Art block is such it's like a horrible feeling, but it's also, to me, it's kind of like, maybe, I don't know. To me, I think art block is good because it kind of shows that, like, this is like what I want, this is what I need, and it's kind of like you have to go through the pain in order to kind of get to that next level of, art.
I love it. I love how you just look at it like you need this.
Yeah,
thing.
and I mean, being surrounded by other artists, not everyone, it's not easy for everyone to. Like, I'm guessing you get art block as well, and it's just like, it's seeing other people's art on, it's like social media. It makes it seem like, they have all the inspiration in the world, or like they have all the,
and they got no problems. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But,
that's the digital age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I just try to, like, if I do have an art block, I try to do something that I'm uncomfortable with. Like, there was one day where you told me my hands, the structure isn't good. So I was like, you know what? Even though I'm in this art block and I'm struggling, I'm going to do something a bit more difficult for myself to, improve in. So it's kind of like, I guess working out. We always bring the whole, like, working out.
It's so applicable, though.
Yeah, to art. Because, like, if you don't go through the struggles and pains, you're not really going to grow.
I think you're touching on something too, Masae, because like when you said you kind of feel like you need it. Well, it's it's like if you go to a personal trainer, right? And they're making you do something, and you're like, man, this is really burning and it's really hard. Like I can't do this very well, and it's people get discouraged by that, and I'm thinking, well, that's a good thing because you found where you're weak. Now you can iron it out. Now you can get better. And so that's the way I feel. Like if you find some weakness, or something that, if you're having trouble in a certain area, you're having a block in a certain area, whether that's coming up with ideas or this and that, then you get to conquer it, right? And so you be thankful that you are aware of a weakness that you're seeing or something like that, because where the situation you don't want to be in is where you think your art's amazing and everyone else doesn't, and you don't know it, and if you can see that something's not right, then hey, that's great. Then you can take steps to fix it, and that's a good thing, and that's when the fun part happens, where you get to learn. So
yeah, that's something very interesting that you're kind of touching on there, John. Like a lot of people, sometimes, people will want to show me their artwork and this and that. They want feedback, or they at least say that they want feedback. And most people are cool, but some people, you tell them some feedback and you could tell that wasn't the feedback that they were looking for.
Right,
They're looking for positive, really nice compliments, things like that, because you can also tell, you're thinking, yeah, it seems like their family, their friends all tell them that they're so good.
Right.
When actually that's doing such a disservice to them.
Right.
Keeping them in the dark.
Exactly.
So, yeah, sometimes I like to free them of that. But no, in a very kind way, though, very gentle. But I want to touch on the whole entire, art block thing as well. Just a couple quick things, okay, that everybody can do right now, actionable things. Do a few different things at once. I always find that to be really helpful, too. I'm sure you do, different paintings at the same time as well.
Absolutely.
So that really helps. It helps you get a fresh eye when you look back on that other thing that you just put down. Also, different procedures. Trying different procedures. You mentioned, both of you were talking about, your procedure and things, and going back to each step that you're supposed to take to get that good kind of result. But sometimes it's also really great to just look at other procedures and start tackling those, because you'll find these correlations to what you're used to, and it gives you a fresh kind of look on things.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, a lot of times the art block is because it's like your mind game again, the mental challenge of convincing yourself that you are good enough, right? Like that you will get to that level. If you choose to, you can get to that level. And a lot of people, they don't know that. They don't believe that. And when you don't believe something, the chance of you getting there is way less, almost zero. So I want to tell every one of you out there that are listening and thinking, can I get to that level of working, for whatever video game or painting at whatever level? You all are extremely special. I'm extremely special. Masae is extremely special because at one point in our lives, in the very beginning of our lives, we had this epic race where we were racing with millions of other people, things just like us. And we were the first sperm to get to the goal out of millions of people. So you gotta be special, So there you go.
It's true. It's true.
There's my
I remember that. I remember racing the others.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
So why don't we go on to the next question here? And the next question is, Ketaki asks, is 1 year enough for a beginner or intermediate artist to learn how to draw the human figure decently? Also, this channel is simply inspiring. Right on. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
1 year... It's kind of like, it's kind of like Legos. You could pick up a Lego and you can start doing stuff right away. But will it be good? That maybe it's not like Legos. But to get to those high levels of execution, that's going to take years and years.
Right. It's kind of like if you said, well, if I play chess for 2 years, could I be a master? And I'm like, are you Bobby Fischer? No. Well, probably not then. So but I mean, it also depends. I mean, sometimes you'll hear these people that are understated. They're like, well, I've only been doing this for a year. And it's like, well, I do it for 16 or 18 hours a day, but I've only been doing it for a year. That's a lot different than saying I do it for an hour a day for a year, because that's really not that much. I mean, that's 365 hours, which is not really enough time to get that level of craftsmanship that you need. So yeah, I mean, don't worry. I think a lot of times people are really thinking about the time and really trying to, they're trying to predict how much time it's going to take, and everybody's really always obsessed with when am I going to get there? When am I going to get there? When am I going to get there? I think as soon as you forget about that and you honestly just start falling in love with the process and really just throw yourself into it and start falling in love with the process, you're not going to really care about the exact moment that you arrive, because you're just going to get there. It's just one step forward every day to do it. And if you're falling in love with the process, like I was saying, falling in love with the work, then one day you'll just kind of look around and you'll be like, oh, I'm getting pretty good at this. And, this is kind of working out a little bit, and you'll be there, and I mean, it's okay to have goals. I think that's really good to have goals. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And I think you should, keep that fire on yourself where you want to keep going and you want that pressure. Maybe some people need that, but I think, maybe, don't put too much pressure on yourself in terms of like the timing and things like that. Just, spend as much time as you can, invest yourself, do it efficiently and smartly. And what did you say, Bobby? You said it's time, logic, and time like work and logic or something like that.
Yeah, time, effort, and logic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need all three.
Yeah.
You need all three.
Yep. So I don't know if you want to add to that, or
I would just like to add what Masae was saying earlier, that she loves pain and stuff. Like one of the two best things that you could love, to be a great artist. The two best things that you could absolutely just learn to love is pain and the journey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The pain and the journey. So think about it. That's what I try to. And it's not like something that you can easily love.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This is a real ugly baby, but you gotta try to love it. Pain and the journey. If you do, that baby will grow up to become a beautiful swan.
There you go. I like it. I actually said to somebody, this is unrelated, but I just want to tell because it was funny. I made these people really offended because I said that some babies were not cute. I said, no, some babies are weird and freakish looking, and I was chastised by that in public, and but I held firm to my, my beliefs. The other day, I said, look, some babies aren't cute, because they were talking about how Pippin, my baby girl's cute, and she's genuinely super cute, but Sam, my son, not so much when he was first born, and everybody makes me feel bad for saying that, and I'm like, no, he's cute now, he's a good looking kid, but he wasn't up front. That's all right, I don't know.
Funny.
Anyways,
that's so funny. Let's go to a quick question here. Yui 7-star asks, do you have any plans on visiting Switzerland? Loish gave once an art workshop at the SAE in Zurich. No plans on going to Switzerland just yet, but I love traveling, so never say never. That was pretty easy question. Let's go on to the next one. Mano asks, I started drawing fundamentals on schoolism. I want to study the fundamentals of art. What class should I take next, Mr. Chiu? Perhaps Essentials of Realism with my buddy Jonathan Hardesty right now. Yeah, he's
come over to my world.
And the best thing is that it's so simple now. When you subscribe to a class, when you pick a class on schoolism, you buy one class and we give you 20 some odd for free. You can switch between classes freely as much as you want. So start off with John's, really try to get into it. And if you finish it, or if you are interested in any other course, then you could just switch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And that goes for everybody. Everybody with a schoolism subscription. We want to make it simple. So let's go on to the next question then. Noah, our buddy Noah from Tel Aviv asks, with all the
What's up, Noah?
traveling, how do you keep routine while away or getting back on routine, when you get back home?
That's a good question.
So when I'm traveling, I have a different routine. I have a different routine in my head, and if I need to, I write it down. I have an extensive schedule so that I can fit in all the routine kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't get to do as much of a routine as I do when I'm in Toronto. And then the other part is the getting back on your routine. I found the best way to get back into sync is once you get back home, once it's, getting closer to your time to like sleep, exercise. Exercise the heck out of yourself until you're so darn tired you fall asleep when you should fall asleep. Yeah.
That's good.
For me, I feel like every weekend is like I'm away, traveling because I spend it with my friends and I spend it with like my boyfriend and stuff. And, it's kind of like every weekend is different. So it goes away from my daily routine, throughout the weekdays. So actually what I do is, whatever my routine is, I always kind of like prepare it before the weekend starts. So like going to the gym, I go in the morning, so I prepare my stuff like right beside my my door. And then if it's art stuff, I leave all my paint supplies ready for me to kind of jump right back into it. And it's like, Photoshop as well. So I think
that's awesome. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So
That's good.
It's so powerful.
That's my way of getting back into routine.
So you think about it beforehand, you pre-plan. That's like such a common theme when it comes to stuff. It's just, thinking ahead.
Yeah,
and
also,
planning.
I don't know how healthy this one is, but when you're gonna go to sleep, there's kind of like two different kinds of going to sleep for me. One is I'm thinking about all the stuff I need to do the next day. So I make sure when I do wake up, I spring up. And then the other way is really just totally just letting go and just melting into the bed, on weekdays, I tend to do the first one where I think about the stuff the next day, and then it isn't as hard to get up. But I have a feeling that it depends on the individual.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, actually. That works for me too. Like if I think about that, like I'll wake up, like it's like your brain's ready to continue that thought. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something else I've been doing lately that doesn't have to do with much of what we're talking about here, but I was just thinking about it, was once I get into work, I look at the time and I on purpose, I notice when do I actually start painting. A lot of times you'll be surprised. Like you're checking emails, okay, whatever, you're checking this, you're checking that, you're getting coffee or whatever. When do you actually start working? From the time you got in.
Interesting. Yeah.
I noticed that I do start a bit later than I expected.
Yeah.
It's like all the little things.
Or you get in and you see a bunch of emails and you're like, oh shoot, I should write back to these, right away.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's such a time sucker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go on to another question here. Akiko asks, a lot of times when I'm trying to design characters, I end up stuck on specific designs, and all other designs seem to resemble that one too closely. Any advice on getting past this problem? This is such a good one. I love this one. One is definitely using your left hand. I've heard of that quite a few times.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, you're doing, sketchy, quote unquote, crappy drawings with your left hand, but then you do a bunch of them real quick or whatever. You work on something else, you look back at it, it will spring up other ideas of shapes and all that stuff. Another one would be just looking at other stuff, perhaps from real life, and extrapolating things from that. But Masae, do you want to contribute into this?
I really like your idea of using the left hand. I actually haven't thought of that. Like, I do have the same problem as Akiko most of the times, but for me, Yeah, I think I would look at real life reference because there's the little nuances from like the individual's face to the pose, that you can take out that you wouldn't have noticed because like in when you draw from your imagination, there's like certain things that you're so used to drawing, so that kind of naturally like seeps into your character design. And I'm aware that I do that myself, so I think for me, the best way is to look at just like friends or family or just celebrities and try to take certain things from them.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question too, because when you think about it, as an artist, certain kinds of artists, they get hired because of their style, right? Their quote unquote style. So they are making the same curves, the same shapes on purpose. And they're actually getting rewarded for that.
Right.
And at some point, yeah, they're going to look at their stuff. Most likely, if you're like me, look at my stuff and I'm just like, oh man, that shape again. Oh, geez, come on. Like I do that. And I've kind of suffered through that quite a bit as well, because repetition, holy smokes, does that really drill stuff into your hand or into your brain? So that's why it's so important just to have some inspiration, look at other artists, study other artists on a constant.
Yeah, I think I took a sketchbook class a while ago with Sterling Hundley, and Sterling Hundley, if you guys know him as an illustrator, he does some really interesting things, really, really interesting compositions, and he definitely has a particular style that's his, but you kind of never know what's going to come from him, and he's kind of like a George Pratt, if you know George Pratt, and it's kind of, you're not quite sure exactly what you're going to get, when you see it, but it's always really cool and always really well thought out, and one of the things that he always talked about was he would if he was when we went through the sketchbook class, we would do 2 sketches and then we would re-envision those sketches as like we would mix them together and re-envision them in a different way, and then change the context, and then change the scene, and then change the scale, and then we would do all these little sketches that what would happen is you started off with this idea. Like I remember I had a bus that I drew and an electric meter that was on the side of my house. He just wanted you to go out and draw from life. Then you take those 2 things and you put them together in a scene somehow, and then you change the context and all that. And by the end, it was like a hot air balloon bus thing that I drew that had a weird gauge on the inside, and it was real strange. Like it ended up with a real strange situation. It doesn't sound
was
as
that
weird,
was
but...
that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, it was kind of
I'm like a little confused.
Oh no, it was good. It was good. I what I mean is like exploring different ideas. That's sorry. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, but like
I drew this weird thing that just
well, what I mean is like it pushed me to think about something that I never would have come up with, and kind of to keep exploring this idea. So he was so good at taking one idea and stringing it along and making it something completely different from what it was. So I think one of the keys to that is maybe grabbing outside elements and having that, like you said, and having that influence, trying to combine them in a weird way, and that may send you off on a path that would be completely different.
Something else that you were saying there that was interesting was like you had this criteria, right? Like you had these 2 things and you had to kind of mix them together or whatever, incorporate both those things. Right?
Yeah. And sometimes it didn't seem like they could be incorporated, which was the really cool part.
Absolutely. And my other YouTube channel, the Jim Bob Drawing Show, that's exactly what we do every week. We have a jar. One is full of adjectives, one is full of nouns, and then we each pull one out, me and my buddy Jim Bryson. And then that's the theme for the week. So I think this theme this week, it's scary forest, but we've also had like pretty weird stuff, pretty fun stuff, like baby barbarian or whatever. That one was really cool. But that's right. That's really fun. That's always a really great way to kind of get out of your comfort zone. But the other thing is the whole entire idea of just setting criteria. Like when you can make a movie about anything, try to think of an idea. It's much easier if I just said to you, okay, this movie has to be in a farm and there has to be a turtle. Okay, and it's a suspenseful movie. Okay, and then now you're thinking, okay, how could I use the turtle and the barn?
Right.
It gets much easier. One of the best ways that over the years that I've been able to kind of get over that artistic block is by making the art books. Like, I might as well just tell you guys I think I'm gonna make a Unusual Unicorns book. That's like the series that I've just been painting just for fun and trying to think of different types of unicorns that are actually interesting and stuff. That's been really great to break out of my kind of creative thing there. And Masae, you're doing the same thing, except yours is like a family art book, right?
It really helps like narrow down like what the subject is, because when you have like the freedom of painting or drawing anything, then your mind kind of like runs everywhere. So I agree with like doing an art book. That's what kind of helps you narrow it down and then make that your goal and kind of like break out of the art block.
Especially a themed art book. That was like the real special thing about it, I think. Because it just forces you to stay within a certain boundary or whatever.
And it kind of shows
have
like
to explore options.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it shows like what can you come up with. So it's also great for not only yourself but also like for clients to see like what can you come up with.
Exactly.
Can we talk a little more about your book, Masae? I want to hear a little bit more about it. I'm really curious. We talked about it for just a split second before it went live, and I wanted to hear more about it.
Yeah. I've been working on this art book since last year fall. So there's just a bunch of illustrations that is based around the theme of family. It's a lot of the illustrations I hope that a lot of people can kind of resonate and connect with, and then share the same moments that I had with my family or friends who I consider family, or there's illustrations that even have like pets in it, because that's family to a lot of people as well.
It's actually awesome. I'm not
awesome.
fluffing your stuff, Masae, but you guys should definitely check out Masae's Instagram account, and you could see like the creativity that she's been doing with like this family theme. It's been really great.
I love it.
Yeah, like for example, one of my favorites.
That's a cool idea.
Was it's two waterfalls, right? It's Mama Waterfall and Little Baby Waterfall, and they're both crocheting these waterfalls. So they are kind of like the mountain. Yeah. I'm probably not saying that. So you got the big mountain, the little mountain, and Mama Mountain is crocheting this waterfall. It's beautiful. It's straight. It just runs right off the mountain and goes real nice and straight. And then Baby's trying to do it, but hers is all crooked and stuff, right? The stream goes very zigzaggy and everything. And it really hits home, even though it's just a mountain. It's two mountains.
Thanks, Bobby.
It's cool. Yeah, I'm looking at them now, right now. I brought it up. I'm looking at a bunch from there. They're really good.
Let's go to the next question here, which is Meg Chan Doodles. She writes, "Hey Bobby, was there a solid point in your art career where you absolutely knew you wanted to do creature design? I thought I wanted to be a character designer, but now I'm not so sure." Yeah, first it was character design. Why did I choose character design? Because I felt like I had a slight advantage in terms of my skills at that point, and because of Yoda, Yoda is that character. She almost choked on her coffee just now. But Yoda is that character where you watch a movie and that character literally changes you. You leave that movie thinking about what that character was saying and how it applies to your life and stuff. That's how I felt with Yoda. So that's always been the ultimate goal. Creature design, I think it really just took a lot of soul searching in terms of, okay, forget trends, forget popularity on things and all that stuff. Say you didn't get paid for nothing, and what kind of job would you want in the pipeline of films? That's what I kind of asked myself. and the answer was, I want to work on weird things, fantastical things, whimsical things. That's where my true love was. And I remember now, it's because normal stuff, you can see pictures of that. I can't see pictures of the stuff I really want to see pictures of, so I'm just going to paint them.
It's awesome.
Why don't we go on to the next question here? Julian asks, what technique do you use to come up with original ideas when you have to design something that has been designed many times before? Oh my goodness,
these are good questions. These are good questions.
Yeah,
like the Alice.
Oh my gosh, I remember trying to avoid Alice in Wonderland, like the old cartoon, as much as I could, and then I stumbled on it and I couldn't get it out of my head. I'm trying to think of the Cheshire Cat and what would Tim Burton's version of Cheshire look like, and I just kept seeing the cartoon. Thank goodness I had Kay.
Yeah.
She pretty much helped me with that and design.
Yeah, that cartoon design was so distinctive, that it yeah, I could see that. I grew up with that too.
Yeah, I think what it is, I literally kind of close my eyes and I just try to picture the screen. I try to picture the end result. It's going to be fuzzy at first, and you just keep picturing it. That's what I did. I just literally, I had I've told this story before in different talks and stuff, but I had this TV on my desk and it wasn't plugged in. I just kept staring at it. Like I'm watching the Tim Burton version of Alice in Wonderland. What does it look like?
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, I kept staring for a good 30 minutes until I had an idea and I started painting.
So you kind of just imagined it all in your head.
Yes, because visualizing is the most powerful way to think.
That is true.
It umbrellas everything. When you really think about it and you're thinking at the top levels of anything, it has a lot to do with visualizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's very true. I mean, and we've talked about this before, Bobby, but any kind of athlete, like somebody playing sports or a fighter or whatever, they all visualize beforehand, and it plays a huge role how you feel. It's actually really interesting because I did my second tournament for jiu-jitsu, and when the first one I was kind of not ready mentally. I didn't know what to expect when I was up there, and there was a long delay before we went on and stuff like that, before we had our matches and stuff, the white belts, and so I wasn't ready for it, and the guy was super frantic that came at me and stuff like that, so it was a real weird experience. It was kind of, I caught up but halfway through the match, and but I ended up losing. But the second one I did much better because I was more aware, and I had planned, at least I visualized in my head, okay, this is how I'm going to go about this. This is, the type of situation that could come up. And I was thinking about it a lot more, and it was way different. The outcome was way different. And it wasn't that I'm so much better now. It wasn't that. It's just, I was in a different mental state. It's very interesting how much of a role that plays. It really does.
Yeah. And the people that don't really get it, I was explaining this to somebody, as a child. I was explaining okay, this is what I'm talking about visualizing. You have a favorite video game where you're controlling a guy or a girl or a character, and you're going through a course, and you've gone through this course a whole bunch of times now, and you anticipate every move. You can visualize every move. Don't you go through there way better, way faster? Well, that's the same thing when you visualize about life. You're going to be able to go through there way faster. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really true. And I mean, I usually know when a painting is going to be successful if like you said, if I have sort of a vision up front of what I need to happen, and I don't know exactly where that's going to lead me, but knowing what needs to happen and having that vision up front, like you said, where you had to kind of look at that TV before you actually started working, just to kind of, it's a totally different state of mind. It's a different way. It's a more purposeful way. You become more purposeful. You become more efficient with what you do. It's very interesting.
And when, you're looking at a black screen, you can visualize better. You can, everybody, we can our imaginations are heightened in darkness when you think about it, because you don't have all that contrast to spell out all the answers of what it is that's out there. Right?
Yeah.
When it's all dark and stuff, your mind has to fill in the gaps.
That's true. That's true.
Now, next question here. This one's a great one as well. There's some really good questions today. Jet asks, you've mentioned before about having to unteach bad art habits in school. But what are those bad art habits? So maybe we can talk about, bad art habits that maybe we've had in the past as well.
Yeah, I think for me, like inefficiency, like is probably like the umbrella term I would use for a lot of the things that I did. And so I would put, for instance, like Bobby, if you guys are watching him paint right now, he's trying out different things, but he's making decisive changes every time he puts something down. He knows what he's about to do, and he knows why he's going to do it. It might be subconscious at this point, but he knows what he's doing, and he understands the reasoning for it. Now, what I would do at first when I first started drawing and painting is I found myself sort of like my mind was being lazy or whatever, and I was just doing certain things, but I didn't. And if somebody would have stopped me and say, "Why are you doing that?" I would say, I don't really know why I'm doing that. I'm just putting down some strokes. I'm not sure what to do, so I'm just putting down some strokes and kind of moving things. I know this isn't right, but I'm just going to move it. And is that the right place to move it? Is that the right? Should it be darker? Should it be light? Well, maybe. And I wasn't really purposeful. I think the second I decided to be very purposeful and to make sure that before I did anything, I knew exactly why I was doing it, that changed the way that I work, I think. But that was a big part for me, was not. Actually, I guess the way I could say it is using my hands more than I was actually thinking. Like I needed to think more and look more instead of acting first, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I acted too fast. I think that's kind of like what you're saying as well, but just overall bad art habits, skipping steps.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
When you go to a museum and you see this beautiful painting, and then maybe the same room or the next room, there's the sketches. There's the preliminary sketches. There's the preliminary sketch paintings before the main painting. And this guy or girl is considered a master. They are in a museum. They've done, 20 sketches. Yet I'm at home thinking, yeah, I'm just going to start off making the masterpiece. I don't need to do any of the sketches. Right. That was a bad art habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, maybe it's just like, the curriculum, it just doesn't have enough time. But I did get this feeling where, it just felt like every piece that you hand in your assignments, it had to be like a masterpiece. It has to be perfect. The quality has to be amazing. And it kind of gave, me a bad habit after I left school, that, it's more about the quality than the quantity. But if you don't have the quantity, you can't reach to the right quality that you need to.
There's a balance, right?
Yeah, there's a balance.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I think that's one of the things where it kind of made me think the wrong ways, where I was so like, strained down to this one piece, and I had to make it like amazing. It had to be like an A+. But that's not what I should be thinking right now with my artwork.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, like this painting here, this is my third painting of the exact same drawing.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I like that.
Totally is.
I like that.
It totally is. And the other two, they looked very similar to this one. But this one I was able to do in under 2 hours. And the other ones took me way longer. So then this one, I feel like, even though I still had to go through creative decisions and all this stuff, and I did change things, everything was a lot more decisive. But still, I'm not happy with it. I feel like now that I'm looking at this, I feel like the fourth attempt would be the really good attempt. But I don't know.
That might be don't go down the rabbit hole too far. You end up with the 20th, Because it looks pretty good, man. So maybe the fourth would do it.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at this like, anyways. Okay, so next question here. Amy asks, what, in your opinions, are the key components to becoming a great story artist, and what things should be displayed in a story artist portfolio? So, asking 3 people that aren't story artists, I would, but I have a lot of story artist friends, and the thing that they all have in common is that they study films hardcore. They're not just learning how to draw. They're not just learning how to draw in perspective. That you need to know as like a prerequisite. But beyond that, you need to look at and study stories. All the films, and like, why did that one make you tear up? Why did that one make you angry? Just if you have a really great story portfolio, it's gonna evoke emotion. And I can say that with 100% confidence. It has to evoke emotion because that's your end goal.
You have to learn to kind of break down what, it's kind of like if you're learning to draw faces and you want to express emotion through those people's faces. That's a whole like sort of discipline all unto itself, is understanding what a particular expression conveys to the viewer. And so it's the same just visually, like you said, with films, and when you study that, you understand, okay, well, this was done in this very, very specific way to convey this very specific emotion. And when you can latch onto that, then when you understand it and latch onto it, you can use that and then utilize it in your work. But you have to be able to break it down like that and really, really understand it. And I think animators really have to do that. They have to take what they study from in reality. And someone like Glenn Keane is always, like we've talked about, he's always studying everyone and looking at everyone to see like interesting characters and interesting people that he meets on the street or whatever. He takes note of all that so that he can inject that into something else, and that person's posture or their expression may convey a very particular feeling to the viewer. So you have to be really finely tuned to all those things and show that in your work. That's what I would guess too. I think that's good, Bobby. I think that's good advice.
Let's go on to the next question, if that's all right. Matthew asks, okay, so I'm going to my first animation festival really soon, and I'm hoping to market myself for freelance work or a job. Any advice on networking as a newbie beyond just beyond just being open and genuine? I got a bunch. So I'm just going to kind of spew them out, okay? You guys totally just jump in, okay, at any point. But one is your intro. Keep it short. It's like the trailer for your movie. Don't give away everything, right? Hey, how's it going? I'm an artist working on films as of late. It's like, oh, what did you do before? Oh, what movie are you working on now? That kind of thing. The ones where my eyes start getting glazed over is like, hi, my name is, Monica, whatever, the third, and I come from this place, and when I was small, I did this, and that's when I started falling in love with art, and it's a long journey, but let me tell you the whole thing, it's like, oh my goodness.
Seems like it becomes
way
one-sided.
Too much. The other one is, I have lots of analogies, but the other one is to think of it kind of like courting a person, dating a person, okay? In other words, asking them for a job is like, would you like to come upstairs? Right? So it's like, maybe not go there just yet, unless you're really feeling it. Unless you're really, really feeling it. Right? You just start off with, like, would you start off with, let's go get a cup of coffee? Probably not, unless that person is literally walking to get a cup of coffee. I wouldn't ask that either.
Right.
You just have the small talk and think of it like that. It's a bit like courting, right? Another one is to do some research before you actually go to the event. Who are the people that are going to be there? Look them up, see what they're up to, see what their new thing is, so that you can stay relevant in a conversation. So that person might start bringing up some names, and when people bring up names, they don't bring up last names unless it's, well, they usually don't, right? So they're going to say, oh yeah, Chris was talking about the robot in the new thing that I'm doing. And if you are up to date, then you could be like, oh, are you talking about Pacific Rim 2? I love the fact that you are blank. Did you think about blank? And then you're in the conversation. The other thing is, any event that's happening there, get there right on time or slightly earlier. Be the very first person there, because if you are a newbie, I guarantee you, if you are one of two people in the room and the other one is Steven Spielberg, he will talk to you because there's nobody else there. There's been many times where I was the first person at an event, at a place, and that allowed me to talk to so many people that would usually not probably give me the time of day, or I would need a heavy, heavy intro. There you go.
That's
Anything
good advice.
that you guys want to add? Any kind of
Those are pretty good pointers.
Okay.
Like, you kind of already said this, but really just be normal. Like, I mean, like, so many people just want you to talk to them. It's not like don't practice out every tiny little thing that you're going to say, and just be very normal. I don't think anybody ever wants to be talked to, especially people that are constantly being talked to about your specific job that you want to get and things like that. People are always talking to them about it. So
especially
know
at
that
at this festival, everybody that's a recruiter, everybody that represents a studio, they're going to be much more on guard, because that is going to be the question of the whole event, is like, can you get me a job? Right? They can't feel that from you. If you want to be the person to be like having dinner with them, like, okay, let's go have dinner after you take care of all these newbies that are asking for all this stuff. Let's just go relax and have some dinner together. If you want to be that guy, then you can't exude this kind of energy of, I want something from you, or desperation.
Right.
Be in your element. Yeah.
I got a story. I worked at it will make sense. It's not long either, but but I worked at the medical center at University of Pennsylvania, and I filed a bunch of stuff, but they raised money, and there was a guy there that had given a gift of like $200 million or something like that. And I went to this event, and I was just this guy that was filing, and I was nobody important, and this was when I was like 21 or something. And I saw this guy standing by himself. So I went up to him, and there was some lady that had just sung at this event. And I said, wow, that lady's voice, that was pretty crazy. Because she was singing in this room, this opera lady, and it was super loud. I said, it was super loud, wasn't it? He said, and he kind of looked at me like, should I, and I thought I did something wrong. And I made a joke about something, and he started laughing, and we started talking. And I looked over at everybody that was in my office, and they're all like giving me the sign, like, stop talking to this guy, stop talking to this guy. So I go over, I'm like, what's going on? They're like, you can't talk to him. I'm like, why? They're like, that's Mr. Abramson. They're like, he's worth like $1.5 billion or something. And I said, well, he and I are just talking, we're having a good time. And they're like, they forbade me to go back over there. So I kind of looked at him. He knew what happened. He could tell what happened. And I just kind of said, sorry, but the moral of the story was, he just wanted somebody to kind of talk to him and be normal and to, interact on that level. He didn't want somebody to come up to him. And this just kind of dovetails on what you were saying, Bobby, where he didn't want somebody to come up to him and ask him for money, ask him for a donation, try to fatten the goose for the slaughter or whatever, and I was just coming up and talking to him like a normal person. Just be genuinely interested in what somebody has to say, and that will go very, very far. So, I wish I could have talked to him more. I felt bad for the poor guy.
That's a great story, actually. I thought that was an awesome story. It also reminds me of like, how do you kind of control the eye when you're painting a painting with contrast, right? If you asked everything that everybody else asked, if you treated him exactly how everybody else treated him, you would be invisible that day.
Right. But I went up and told jokes, and I'm not I didn't have a tie on. I kind of treated him like a buddy. I wasn't treating him. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know at the time. I was like, I couldn't tell. If I was a little bit wiser and older, I would have been able to tell this guy's got some serious cash or whatever. But I didn't know.
That's what our event coordinator, she does so well, is because she really just treats everybody like totally normal. It doesn't matter if you directed the best movie in the world. She would just be more interested in hearing about your kids or, what kind of barbecue you have.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, and just be normal like that. Like that goes so far, and really everybody's just like you said. Everybody wants to be treated normal, and the more successful you are, the more rich you are. I see those people come in and buy my paintings, and they have to be so guarded because everyone acts so stupid around them. And so just be yourself. Just talk to people. Like just the talking to people is what's going to lead to something. It's not the, if I say the right words, I can unlock the key to this person's, wallet or, whatever. Or, that's, trust me, especially somebody like them, they're going to sniff it out in 2 seconds anyways. And that shouldn't be your motivation anyways, but yeah, so it's good advice. I mean, it's really good advice, Bobby, I think, and I remember us being up in the upper area of, or the upper section of the, that workshop where we kind of first met. I remember that, us talking, and we were just kind of hanging out, I remember being up there like, what am I doing up here? And I didn't talk to anybody about art at all the whole time, but then I ended up meeting all those guys, meeting you and being involved, so.
Yeah, I remember the whole time you had an assistant. You still talk to that person? Or?
Oh, yeah, Mike. That's right. Yeah. He was like, he studied with me for a little bit, and he's living in, I think he's in Rhode Island now or whatever, but he was there for like a couple years, and he just kind of helped me with some stuff, and I taught him in return. That's funny. I hadn't even thought about that. I wonder how he's doing. That's been a while.
Yeah, I remember it all. Yeah. You were wearing a light blue shirt, smelled like cranberries.
I remember you had longer hair. You had longer hair though. I remember that.
I did.
Yeah.
I try to forget about those days, but I was just growing.
No, you were good, man. You were fine. Like I remember like thinking you were so nice. You were just real chill. You were not, you were having a good time. I was just
thinking about the longer hair. Yeah.
You got to bring it back, man. Go do like a long ponytail or something.
I think when I'm like totally gone bald on the top, then I'll just do one of those big long ponytails, like it all just kind of slid off my top of my head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's classy. That's some classy.
Slick it back. That'll. Okay, guys. Moral of the story: if you want to make inroads, long ponytails. That's the. Oh man, that's funny. Sorry, I'd led us down a different path. Sorry.
It's quite all right. So let's go on to the next question. Elena asks, how do you balance learning and studying with doing your personal thing? Well, that's not going to be a very easy answer, because one is that you don't have actual work in there. How do you balance learning and studying and, with doing your personal thing? I think if you're doing your personal thing, for me, it's really all about learning and studying, right? It's the result, say it's a nice painting or whatever, the result is from learning and studying. It's not from that being the objective in the first place. But, everybody's different. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think just in general, you kind of have to create a plan of what you want to achieve, and then you prioritize what you need to prioritize in whatever manner, in whatever way you can, So, if you're doing your work and then you've got personal projects and you have growth and things, this is just kind of the theme that always comes up. It's just being intentional about all that. You have to be very intentional about it. So whatever you want to grow in, whatever you want to, excel in, and it's like if you're a company and you're doing really well as a company, like I don't know, you just take any company as an example. They always say diversify. You have to diversify. A company has to be very intentional about that. If they're doing well with their products that they have and they want to keep doing well and they want to grow and they want to expand, they have to be very intentional about taking time to do that, which is going to take time. It's going to feel like it's taking time away from their current success or whatever. So I think you just have to balance everything that you want to do and be very intentional about that, and don't just leave it up to chance, because Minecraft or whatever will fill that that void, or not even Minecraft, but just even good things like even artistic goals will fill those gaps. And you, not just that you'd be playing video games or whatever, but even good things can fill those gaps that won't necessarily move you in the direction that you want to go. So you have to be very intentional. I think that's the key.
Hey, I want to skip to one of the questions that I see in the chat there by Jen3355. Any opinion on Vero? Vero is this app that I just found out about on the weekend, and it seems like everybody found out about it on the weekend because everybody's kind of on it.
Yeah.
I signed up for it. I used it. I don't want to be a wet rag, but I really like the interface, but the uploading stuff and just seeing anything, it just takes so long. And there's been a bunch of times where it didn't actually go through whatever I posted. I spent all this time typing with my thumbs, and I'm not very good at doing that. And then I didn't post it. And it's so aggravating.
Well, I actually just looked it up because I didn't know what it was. And the first line it said, over the weekend, the app gained so much traction that the company experienced technical issues. So that could be part of it.
That's what I'm hoping, that, maybe they didn't expect that much traction. So I'll give them some time. I still have my account, but that's how I feel about it right now. And the other thing is, hopefully this gets to them. Okay. So one thing is that there's this thing in Vero where you can see in your notifications if anybody in your contacts joined Vero.
Oh.
Right? Even if they didn't ask to connect with you. But if you're a person, like I have like over 1,000 followers.
You're
already.
A well-known person. You can say it, man. You're a well-known person.
So there's a lot of stuff in my notification thing. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm looking for other friends that finally joined, I can't find them. It takes so much scrolling. So then I just don't want to scroll for them anymore.
Right.
And the other thing is, I didn't know that if I accept somebody as my acquaintance, that all of a sudden now I see them in my newsfeed. So then I'm just like, oh, geez, do I really want to see all these people in my newsfeed? Probably not, because there's like different levels, right? There's close friend, acquaintance, and then follower. So followers, you don't see their stuff. Acquaintances, you do. I wish it was like they only showed friends and close friends.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like they're going to have some growing pains or whatever, but it's interesting to see. I think the fact that so many people jumped on board, I think it kind of shows that maybe the market is ready for some sort of alternative. I think that's interesting, actually. That concept alone is interesting.
I think why people jumped on board is because they all do not like Facebook and Instagram as much anymore because of the algorithms.
Yeah.
You know what grinds my gears? Algorithms. Like
Preach it, Bobby. Preach it.
I'm following people, right? I'm following people because I want to see their images. I don't follow people because I'm filtering out the things I don't want to see.
Right.
Why are you going to filter out the things I do want to see?
Yeah.
I know.
But then add in ads that I don't want to see. Grinds my gears.
Yep.
Really grinds my gears.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think Vero gained such traction, even though it's not working that well. All of us are still like, okay, we'll just stay. Hopefully they'll get better.
Yeah, let's just hope, right?
Because we don't want the algorithms.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. It's interesting. I should try it out. I haven't tried it. I didn't know anything about it, so you guys just mentioned it. So
First adopters, that's a huge advantage. So if you want to get on a crappy social media thing that might get better, Vero.
That's right. Yeah. It's kind of like cryptocurrency. You just have to take the risk that it will materialize, right?
Yes. You hit home with that one. I got some cryptocurrency where I'm just like, what the heck? What is this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, but if you get it on the ground floor, if you would have had Bitcoin when it was like only nerds had it and everyone was making fun of them, like, holy cow, Yeah, I've got 100 sitting around or whatever. I don't know.
But could you imagine putting in your life savings into something like Bitcoin where it's like right in the very beginning and you have no idea what the hell it is?
That's a big risk.
Yeah.
You would be kind of idiotic because any other situation, you'd be dirt poor.
Yeah, but back then you wouldn't have even had. Even if you put in like $500 or $1,000, it was like you'd have like however many coins that are now. I mean, it was
sure.
like it's crazy. It's crazy. But who would have thought?
I'll tell you some shame. I'll tell you some shame that might turn out to be amazing. I got a whole bunch of this stuff called Dogecoin, which is not even worth a penny.
You have Doge.
Not even worth a penny. But we'll see what happens. 2 years from now, if it goes up to 10 cents, then hey.
Well, Doge has been around for a long time. I remember Doge back in 10 years ago or whatever. I remember. And there was actually, this is hilarious, man. You got to look this up. There was a cryptocurrency that got closed down by Kanye West. It was called Kanye West.
Kanye.
And the logo is him as a fish or something. It was so awesome. There's some art for you. Look up the logo for Kanye West.
Wow.
The currency. He got really mad because it started to gain in popularity, and so he got it shut down.
That's funny.
Kanye West. It's so funny. Oh, really funny.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time, so I just want to take on I guess one last question here. Okay, so Cindy Finney asks, when someone starts working as an artist and you realize you need to be faster, what can you do to improve, especially if you don't have a lot of time? Working full time, children, etc. Since why don't we go to the person with the most children here, or that has children? So, John, what do you think?
I think you have to become more efficient. I think that is the key. So you analyze your method, right, for any wasted moments or any wasted, time, and you find what's important, what's very, very important to get where you need to be, and on any particular project or painting or drawing or whatever, and you make sure that you maximize what you need to do. So one of the things I talk about is doing a block in, well, like with I was just talking about this with a student on Schoolism when I was leaving a critique, talking about, I said, it might sound like I'm splitting hairs with them when I'm talking about all these things, but the more efficient you can be, instead of doing something in 2 lines, do it in 1 line if you can. Make it more simple, make it more simple, but more descriptive. They were doing a block in, they were blocking something in, and I was telling them to be much more efficient, because that little bit of efficiency there and that little bit of simplicity, but while it's still conveying what needs to be there, all of those little decisions add up to it being a lot faster. So if you think about a race car driver, I heard one guy talking about it, and he said, if you can cut off like 0.1 seconds off of every corner that you take, like if you can take each corner 0.1 seconds by the end of the race, if you have like 30 laps, by the end of the race, you're really far ahead. You've saved a whole bunch of time. So I think you really have to learn to be efficient, number one, with your time, but also with your methodology and what you're doing, and really analyze the way that you're doing things, because you just have to make sure that you're not wasting time. You're not, doing stupid things. And also it's kind of like what you said, Bobby, you have a way that you go through things. So if you're doing a painting and you need to do some studies, you need to go through and do a composition study, then you need to do a color study, whatever. That may seem like that's wasted time, but that's not wasted time because you know at the end that you're going to achieve a result that you want and you know what to expect. So that time that you spend up front actually saves you time on the tail end from having to do massive corrections or even having to scrap the entire thing. So, so I think it's not always, you might say, well, let me just ditch all these studies because I want to work faster, right? Well, no, that's not always the way to work faster as well. You have to be, I think the key thing is efficient. Like people think that moving more quickly and moving their hands more quickly and sharpening their pencils more quickly is the fastest way to get from point A to point B. But it's usually doing it right the first time or just being more efficient. I don't know. That's what I would say. I've had to really do that. And in the moments that I can work, I do it because I never know when a kid's going to fall and break their arm. I'm going to have to go to the hospital for 2 days. And, I mean,
oh my God,
or whatever. That hasn't happened. I'm just saying, but that's that kind of, I'm telling you, like any kind of interruption known to man can happen when you have kids. I've had so many different bizarre things that I never thought I would ever say, like, or do or whatever, just because of the weird situations. But you have to make use of your time and you have to be efficient. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, for the animation industry, you're working with a whole bunch of people. Everybody's waiting for somebody at some point, so you feel that urgency a lot more, I feel, so especially Chris Pern, he's one of like the fastest drawers I know. And he was talking about speed one time, and he was talking about, if something took him 2 hours to do the first time, the second time he would aim to do it in 1 hour.
Nice.
And the first 1 hour drawing might look bad, but then he tries it again and he tries it again and tries it again, and then it gets better. His mind, his arm, everything catches up to the amount of time that's given to him, and then he cuts it down again by half.
Right.
And then his drawings are crappy again for a while, and then they get better and better and better, and then he does that over and over again. So it's like this. It's this very intentional kind of speeding up of drawing and painting and stuff like that, with the realization that once you make that first transition, your drawings and paintings will probably look not so hot for a good while, but it'll catch up.
Yeah, one of the things I do with my fine art side is I would limit the amount of strokes that I would use for a particular study or painting. So I would say, okay, I only have 25 strokes to try to capture this thing here. I would do a little quick study of something and say I have 25 strokes to do it. That's it. And a stroke consists of me putting the brush on the canvas, and then when the brush gets removed from the canvas, that's a stroke. So 25, and that's it. You got it, and that goes pretty quick, actually.
Now, sorry. Now,
go ahead.
Masae, you are a person that's probably still remembers what it's like to be a student and drawing at that level, and now you're drawing and painting at a whole completely other level.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So maybe we can ask you the question and see what you have to say, when you realize you need to go faster. What did you do to improve? How did you get faster?
I think for me, when I did the paintings, I had to be aware of what I was doing and like what mistakes am I doing right now, and because I have to produce it right away. Like the first couple ones, it wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. So I think it's just being aware of like what like the brush strokes, the steps, the efficiency, especially the efficiency.
So were you consciously trying to go faster?
Yeah, yes.
Or was it more like you were consciously trying to use less time, and then that makes your arm go faster, kind of thing? Or were you thinking, okay, I gotta move my arm fast. Where should it go? You see what I'm saying? It's kind of a very odd question, but I'm into.
No, I know what you mean. It's kind of, it's like what I was saying, like, like were you trying to focus on just like, I gotta nail this, or or was it I need to go that kind of a thing?
I think at first it was like, yeah, go, just like finish as fast as I can. But then from that, I picked up a lot of things like consciously and like, you know, subconsciously. I don't know if that answers the question properly, but
it's a bit
tough.
of a tough one. Yeah,
it's tough to nail it down. You know what goes through your head.
But of course, when you're painting fast, it does not, like John was saying, it does not mean that you are physically moving your brush or your arm faster than the other person. What it means is that you're putting down way more information with every brush stroke. The amount of information that you're putting down, some people, they draw a line and they're just really just talking about the angle. They haven't talked about the edge. They haven't talked about the value, things like that. And some people, they put down, you know, one brush stroke and it means all those things, plus way more. You know, and that person is going to be painting much faster than the other person that's drawing one thing down and just talking about one thing at a time.
Right. And that person actually may be moving slower. That may look like they're actually moving slower.
I remember experiencing this in life drawing class years ago. I don't know if you guys ever had that kind of experience where it's like one of those life drawings where you pay your $10 and then you're amongst all these other strangers that, you know, and so I'm drawing right beside like a older person and everything. And that person, I could see out of the corner of my eye, is moving real slow, thinking about stuff, stopping, thinking about stuff. And I'm just frantically going. And at the end, he had a finished drawing and I had a bunch of scribbles. Yeah, that was very enlightening.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I've noticed that too. I've been in that almost exact situation, Bobby, too, at a workshop.
I think a lot of us have. So that's pretty much all the time that we have today. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody that, you know, hung out with us during the stream, and of course, biggest shouts out go to Masae and John. Follow them on Instagram. You can follow me too at Digital Bobbert. And if you want to catch us live or me live, you know, if you want to find me, Toronto, you could come to my hometown and see Kim Jung-gi and Hyungjin Kim and Crash McQuarrie. And then I'm heading to Florence, March 23rd, 24th. That's going to be fantastic. Love Florence. Then going to Shanghai, end of March to April 1st. And then the fun doesn't stop because I'm going to Mexico with a bunch of friends. 27th to 29th, Querétaro, Mexico. I practiced that name before I got on the stream, so hopefully it was the right pronunciation.
That sounds good. Sounds good to me. A non-Spanish speaker, it sounds great. So
right on. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.